What's up, y'all? High Stakes Takes back again. Let's go. Let's go. First waiver show of the season. Are you serious? Are you serious? Yo, what a weekend it was. Or what a Sunday it was. And last night, if you watched that Monday night football game, Ravens versus Raiders, they got busy out there in Vegas. All the stars came out. I think I seen Dana White. I think I seen Lil Jon. That boy. They showed Lil Jon, right? And all of a sudden they showed him at that time. Some bad shorty was walking by. He was like, you see him with his glasses on and shit, just chilling. But we got the waiver show today. First waiver show of the season. Coming off a 12-8 Sunday with 3-5 on NFL locks. That shit was hectic. Green Bay shut out. Pats lost because of Damian Harris fumble. Granted, you never know if they can make the field goal, but you already know. 4-2 on prop bets, which should have been 6-0. But who would have thought Najee Harris come out and 8 rushes for 8 yards? Bruh, how do you start like that? Like, granted, you're going to Buffalo, and that's always a tough place to play. But 8 rushes for 8 yards. I think he ended with like 45 yards. Over under on his rushing yards was, I'm pretty sure, 58.5. Should have obviously hit, but he's going to be that go-to back. You don't have to worry about shit over there in Pittsburgh, and it's obviously only up for air. I don't think he's really going to average that, obviously. But coming out in that first game, you got the jitters. And shout out RDGs. He was saying he like runs weird. I didn't really know what he was talking about. And then I had the 2 screens set up and the Carolina Panthers. Shout out the squad with the dub week 1. Let's go. Let's go. But had the Carolina Panthers on the phone. Bruh, so much action going on Sunday. I love it. And we went 5-1 on Soccer Lock Sunday too. Liverpool. And we did say, because it was over under at 3.5 early, it dropped down to 2.5. I said, get it before it moves back up. I go inside, edit the video quick, upload it, make sure it's out there for game day. And all of a sudden, it shifted back. It shifted back to 3.5. So you got to call it like you see it, right? And I ended up getting a Liverpool first half, because I think I got that in probably game at 11:30. I probably got it in at like 11:29. Some crazy shit. I always do that. Leave it to the last second. I was uploading this video, right? Watching the game, all that shit, getting ready for 1 o'clock. It was like 12:57. Finally got to sit down, right? Got some food going and shit. And all of a sudden, I'm scrambling. I don't have a defense. I meant to pick up the Carolina Panthers defense. They were my number 1 DFS play last weekend. Granted, they let up 2 late touchdowns, but dominated that game. Probably could have had another pick too. Shaq Thompson with the ill tip to himself and dipping. And then I'm hearing the announcers, and they're like, oh, he looks like a running back. Probably because of the number 7. But they were like, oh, he looks like a running back running down the field. And if you done did the research, he was a running back and played running back at Washington. Played both sides of the ball. Dude's a monster. For real. And that number 7, that shit's spicy. So, and our only one loss on the soccer slate was at AC Milan versus Lazio. AC Milan ended up winning 2-0. And they should have won 3-0. Kessie with that brutal missed penalty, but that's how it goes sometimes, right? But 5-1, we'll take it, right? We'll take it. We'll move on into the Champions League, and let's just give it up one time. Champions League starting today. Champions League starting. Oh my God. Matchday 1. I think we got, pretty sure, FG and H are playing today. Let's just go make sure. And we also got all of our group winners So that's how we're going to end the show. And quickly, I want to give a shout out to @FinzRider and @BagTroy, the contest winners. One of them said they wanted it shipped in the mail. Guess what? Got it out the next morning, sent it. Here's the tracking number. Enjoy, brother. Enjoy. This is only the first giveaway. And I cannot wait to see where this shit goes. It's exciting, bro. It's exciting. And shout out @BagTroy and @FinzRider. Right? Show love, retweet the podcast, got in on the contest. And you see how certain shit works? Like FinzRider, he was the only one, post a picture underneath. Yo, I subscribe, hit it with a like. It's all love, brother. And guess how the shit works, right? Sometimes the world work weird like that. So ended up being a winner, and I sent his shit through. He was like, "Oh, you want to send to you through DM? Can take a picture." He was like, "Yeah, just do that." I was like, "Let me know if you have any problems." Haven't heard back, so hopefully he got himself something nice or put it towards something nice. And shout out High Stakes Takes, cooking. Let's go. Let's get into it. So let's get into the top waiver ads. We got Elijah Mitchell, who's obviously #1 ad of the week. Only 5% rostered. Raheem Mostert, he went down with a knee injury after 2 rushes. 2 rushes for 10 yards. Boy's averaging 10 yards a carry. And it sucks, man. It seems like every year now. Mostert had that one solid season. Then he's just been injured. It's tough. Hopefully he gets back, and I know he'll grind, get back to where he was before. He's a beast of a running back when he's healthy. So, but Elijah Mitchell, 6th round pick, sneaky. And one of the biggest surprises from last week was Trey Sermon. Healthy scratch. And granted, he had some injuries in college and shit, recovering from that knee injury, but damn. A healthy scratch, that was one of the biggest surprises. But I think Elijah Mitchell, he stepped in, rushed for 19 and 104 and a tutty. Getting 19 rushes, especially when you got Hasty behind you, who did produce at times last year. So being a 6th round pick, Trey Sermon, being a healthy scratch, rushing 19 times for 104 yards and a tutty. Granted, it was versus Detroit. But, you know, Dan Campbell, he's a beast of a coach. Detroit was down, I think, 25 points at one time. All of a sudden, came back, covered the spread because it shifted from 8 to 8.5, which that half point, that'll kill you sometimes. You got to be careful. So, #1 waiver ad of the week, Elijah Mitchell. Send it. We'll lock it in. And then on to the #2 waiver ad of the week. Another running back out of Houston, Mark Ingram. Well, another running back, and he's out of Houston. Mark Ingram, he's the clear #1 over there. Granted, they have Phillip Lindsay, David Johnson, Rex Burkhead even. Even with that crowded backfield, had 26 rushes for 86 yards and a touchdown. That was only a 3.3 average, and you could be like, maybe they'll give someone else a chance with only averaging that. But that's a bell cow back right there. 26 rushes, and it played into the game script because they were just, I think they beat Jacksonville 37-21. And Jacksonville, I think they got a late touchdown. Woo, right? Threw for a tutty in his first game. But if that defense can't play well, Jacksonville's going to have a tough season, right? But that only means if they're always down, Trevor Lawrence is going to have a monster season. He's going to have those picks. And granted, he's coming straight out of college, so you almost expect it. And like we seen, granted, Mac Jones didn't throw a pick, but Tua, second year, had that really indecisive panic throw for an into, which gave New England the ball and the chance at the end. But we also seen Zach Wilson versus Carolina. He threw a pick, probably could have had 2. And the touchdown he got in there, bruh, J.C. Horn, he was right there. It's so crazy. The ball like barely missed his arm. It was one of those like corner at the pylon, like one of those back shoulder shit. and he was right there, but just barely missed it. But Zach Wilson out there balling too. It sucks because he's going to get like no protection this year. Becton just went down. That's tough. That's tough for them. But number 2 waiver out of the week, Mark Ingram. Make sure you pick him up. Only 11% rostered. And granted, I'm pretty sure Houston plays Cleveland next week. Let me just make sure. Yeah, so Houston up against Cleveland next week. They have a tough defense. You never really know. But at only 11% rostered, and Lindsey, David Johnson, they average the same amount per carry, so I wouldn't worry about them. Number 2 waiver out of the week, Mark Ingram, send it. On to the 3rd waiver out of the week, we got Tim Patrick, wide receiver out of Denver. He had 4 catches on 4 targets for 39 yards and a tutty. And granted, only 39 yards, that might make you shy away. But you got Jerry Jeudy, who just went down with that high ankle sprain. He's going to be out at least 4 to 6 weeks, if not more. That's always a tough one to get back from, especially when you're a wide receiver. We've seen Beckham. He tried to come back, re-injured it when I think he got hurt last year. It's always a tough one. I hope for him to get recovered. You hate seeing those injuries, but you know what comes with the season. That shit's tough. So that's why the waivers are so important. And with Tim Patrick only being 3% rostered, and this week being the wide receiver 32 in standard leagues, which if you play 3 wideouts, he's going to be in that starting lineup. And he was the wide receiver 37 in PPR, which just barely out of the top 3 wideouts if you were to start him, but a guaranteed flex play. And with Jeudy out, I could definitely see this man stepping in. And he even got 4 targets and 4 catches, produced a tutty. Even with Jeudy catching 6 passes on 7 targets for 72 yards before he got injured. So, Tim Patrick, he's solid. We seen him last year. Finished with 742 yards, caught 51 of 79 passes for 6 touchdowns. That's solid. So he definitely one of the top wideout picks. I'd stay away from Christian Kirk. He's gonna be that slot receiver, and Kyler, he's gonna ball all year. But you're always gonna have AJ Green, who's gonna be in the mix, and you're gonna have DeAndre Hopkins getting at least what? We'll say 10 at the fewest all year, 10 to 15 targets a game, with certain games maybe even more than that if it applies to the game script. So, 3rd pickup of the week for the waivers, Tim Patrick, wide receiver out of Denver. And I wouldn't worry about Cortland Sutton too much. I think he only had 1 catch. And the last 2, these 4 and 5, kind of middle of the pack in the rostered percentage, and all these percentages come from Sleeper. It might differ if you go to Yahoo or if you're on ESPN. It might differ a bit, but Sterling Shepard, 4th waiver pickup of the week. Wide receiver out of the Giants. And granted, he got Daniel Jones thrown to him, but if that defense gives up those yards like they did to the Denver Broncos and Teddy Bridgewater, it's going to be one of those seasons where they're going to throw a lot. Once Saquon is fully healthy and established out there, he's going to catch at least, 5, 6, 7 passes a game, and probably have close to McCaffrey targets. So, Sterling Shepard out there, even with Golladay, even with the rookie Tony out there, and Darius Slayton, still produced 7 catches on 9 targets for 113 yards and a tutty. So, solid production. And it could jump up and down from game to game. But if Sterling Shepard is out there, he's a guaranteed stash just to make sure he is going to produce like that every week. And pretty sure Evan Ingram. If Evan Ingram still out that's just going to be more targets for all the wide receivers. And Sterling Shepard, he's probably the most established wideout. And it was sick watching him when he used to play with Beckham, both out of LSU, some savages. So I think Sterling Shepard, he's probably going to be the number one wideout over there on the Giants this year. And I wouldn't worry about Daniel Jones too much. He's going to have his up and down season, but as long as the targets are going Shepard's way, he's going to be a beast. So on to the fifth and final waiver ad of the week before we get into the defenses. Nelson Agholor, if he's still out there, which would be nuts. He's only 44% rostered, and like Sterling Shepard, only 40% rostered. About middle of the pack, but you always got to do your due diligence, and you got to get out there, check the waiver wire, and make sure these players aren't just floating out there, because you never know. Some people, they might want to pick up a defense for next week. They see Sterling Shepard, like week 1, they're like, I don't know how he's going to do in that crowded wide receiver core, and they drop him, and all of a sudden he's on waivers for week 2. So make sure you go over there, do your due diligence, check the waiver wire, and send it. So Nelson Agholor, wide receiver for New England, caught 5 passes on 7 targets for 72 yards and a tutty. And that's along with James White having the same amount of targets, which he's going to get his in, especially with a rookie quarterback. That's a solid little dump-off play. We've seen it with Brady. Didn't really see it with Cam as much, because he's going to, rather than dump it off, he's going to want to run about half the time. But with Mac Jones, no real running ability. He can move a bit in the pocket, but you know what I'm saying. So with James White, same amount of targets. And this other player, Jacoby Myers, had 2 more targets, but I think he only caught like 3 balls. And Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry, they didn't really produce like I thought they were. They only had 8 targets combined. I felt like he would be more of a, I don't know, I'm going to dump it off to the tight end. But then you got James White right there. And if Ramondre Stevenson gets in the mix, that's just going to take more targets away from the tight end position. And it really could be based on matchup too. Like if you don't have a top safety, and the Dolphins have a hell of a defense, right? They could get after it. The safeties are solid. You never really know with the tight end position. But between them both, having 8 targets combined, that's tough. That's especially tough if you own them. So I think Nelson Agholor, being the speedy receiver, always a threat to go deep and burn them. And having 7 targets, catching 5 of them for 72 yards and a touchdown, I think that's solid. So, and it really played into the game script, because they weren't ever like ahead by a lot, even though they gave Damian Harris almost positive, 18 carries? That boy went out there, he was balling. Damn, 23 for 100 yards. His carries were at 13.5 early. By the time I got it in, actually got my bets in, right? I'll send the show out, send my locks out before I even get my own bets in. It's just down to the last second. But I seen it had shifted to 15.5. Still took it. You see him with 23. And he even had 3 targets, which is sneaky. If he could get at least a few targets a game, which is completely doable, I think he could be a hell of a fantasy running back this year. Let's go. Damn. Let's get it quick. Yo, this new one, that shit's gas. That shit's some gas. So, those are my waiver ads of the week. Elijah Mitchell, and these are 1 through 5. Elijah Mitchell, Mark Ingram, Tim Patrick, Sterling Shepard, and Nelson Agholor. And we're always going to throw in a couple that are going to be middle of the pack. But make sure you check that waiver wire, because you never know who's going to get dropped. Like, honestly, Jonnu Smith or Hunter Henry, they each might get dropped this week. Damn, I didn't even notice this shit's been going. Gotta stop it. Get hit with that copyright. Get hit with that copyright. All of a sudden, Moon's out of here. Let's go. Oh, and actually, cannot forget. I thought we were moving on, done wrapped up. Taylor Heineke or Heineke. If he could produce like he did, he came in 11 of 15 after Fitzy got injured. And Fitzy's going to be out at least 8 weeks. He had a dislocated hip, which is nuts. And for an older quarterback who's played on so many teams, so many games, that's going to be a tough injury to come back from. But if anyone's going to do it, Fitzmagic going to pull it out the air. He'll be back. Probably not this season. But Taylor Heineke, I think will be a solid. He's a guaranteed pickup in Superflex leagues. But if you need a streamer, and especially this week versus the Giants, we seen what Bridgewater did. They let up 264, 2 touchdowns, and 19 yards on the ground to Bridgewater. That is insane. And when he came in, 11 of 15, 122 yards and a touchdown, didn't turn over the ball, which is always key, and had 3 rushes for 17 yards. And he's one of those quarterbacks where he's not going to be afraid to run. He got a little bit of speed, and he's going to get out there. Like, if you've seen right in the wild card game versus Tampa Bay, I'm pretty sure he had one of those touchdowns where he was dipping down the sideline, hit a little juke, and dove for the pylon and scored, or got close. I can't exactly remember. But he goes out there and he balls. He puts it on the line, man. So only 3% rostered. He's going to be one of the biggest quarterbacks picked up this week in Superflex leagues. And if you're in standard leagues, I'd probably stay away from it. But honestly, if you're still in standard leagues, that's kind of insane. At least push it a half-point PPR. Do something like that, right? I'm in leagues where people giving 0.5 for carries, crazy shit like that. So if you're still in a standard league, next year, spice it up a bit. And Heineke, for this game, it's a home game versus the Giants, but it is on Thursday Night Football. And the game script may not play into his favor. Like if Gibson, if he gets going on the ground, it might be tough. And especially if they go up early, they might run the rock a lot. So I'd be careful of that. But division matchup, Thursday Night Football, they might come out there, start balling. Let's get on to the defenses. These are the best defensive plays of the week. We got number 1, Browns versus Houston. Projected as the top defense this week. Only 46% rostered. So could be out there, could not be out there. They let up 33 points to Kansas City, but Kansas City came out in that second half gunning. So, and Mahomes had, a 75-yard bomb to Tyreek Hill. I think Kelsey came in the second half, scored 2 tutties. So, they straight balled out in that second half. And I don't think that's really an indicator of the Browns not having, the stamina or staying in games till the end. That's just Chiefs. One of, if not the most high-powered offense in the league. So it's going to happen. They're going up against Tyrod and a team that averaged under 3.5 a carry versus Jacksonville. They're probably going to be forcing Tyrod to throw. And I don't think Tyrod will come out and go 21 of 33, hanging 291 yards and 2 touchdowns on them. They're going to do it versus Jacksonville because all the players they lost. New coach. It's tough. And it was one of those games where everyone was, I'm pretty sure, hammering Jacksonville, especially rookie quarterback. And what did they do with the running backs? I had James Robinson in my fantasy lineup. Look at that quick. Bruh, if you look at this, Jalen Hurts, balled out. Mixon, baller. James Robinson, 5 rushes. And you know who got the first, 5 or 6 rushes in the game? Carlos Hyde. Did you not see what Robinson did last year? a monster. ETN gets hurt, and then you don't rush this man. You got to play into the, and granted the game script didn't really call for it, but if you got him established early, he broke off a couple ill runs, guess what? You're eating up time of possession. They don't have the ball as much. Come on. But Thielen had that feeling over Justin Jefferson. 6% rosters, send it. And it's always those players that are lower, like the lower percentage, higher the points. It's going to push you into the money. So, and then we got Hopkins, Eaton, and only 8 targets, which is pretty surprising. I think we said his lowest targets on the year would probably be like 10, but 8, 10, that'll honestly probably be his lowest. Deadass, they got after the quarterback, Kyler balling. And we were saying on the last show, who does Kyler remind you of? Bro, it's only one person that quick. It's fucking Mike Vick. And I'm not going to say he's Mike Vick, because Mike Vick, right? That's the GOAT. That's the first man to do it. So, but Kyler, we seen that scramble play, right? I think he ran, 42 yards just scrambling behind the line of scrimmage just to fire a fucking dot. Like, straight animal. Robbie Anderson, we got lucky with that 57-yard bomb. That was one of our prop bets, too. I think his over-under on yards was like 51.5. Ended up hitting that. And Damian Harris, bruh, if he added 2 touchdowns, it would have pushed me. And I was hanging around like 900 out of 85,000 people. 900? And even finished 2,500 out of 85,000 people. That's ridiculous. Got me in the money. But, bro, Damian Harris gets a couple tutties. If I don't pay as much for Kittle and throw Hawkinson in there, bro, I might have won the whole fucking thing. And 49ers getting that touchdown, I think their points went down from pretty sure 16, probably around there. All of a sudden they started letting up points. It's just gonna knock it down, because I think that's how it goes. It's 28 to 34 points, 21 to 27. Certain amount get you a certain amount of points. I don't really know. I just throw the most fire defense out there and let it rock. So that was the lineup. And DFS show, killing it. Send that shit. So, number 1 defensive pickup of the week, Cleveland Browns versus Houston. And they're at home. The dog pound. Bruh, they're going to be out there. And they're going to be balling. So, number 2, which could be sneaky. Only 1% rostered. I looked on Sleeper. There's 0% rostered, which that's probably a 0 point something. But they're projected as the 12th defense this week. Only let up 24 points to Minnesota in that high-powered offense. And granted, Kirk had 351 yards and 2 tutties on 36 of 49 throwing. But they held Dalvin Cook to only 61 yards on the ground on 20 carries. That's 3 yards of average. Well, 3 yards a carry. So for a top running back like that, to lock him in, and granted, Cook got that touchdown, but that's a hell of a defensive play. And going up against Chicago, where if they're gonna get beat throwing, Andy Dalton is not gonna be the man to do it, right? One of our prop bets was Andy Dalton throwing a pick versus the Rams, -150. Send it. Of course, it was a hitter. And going up against Cincy, who they could get after the quarterback, and that was Chicago's problem, right? Dalton hella under pressure, and Rams have a fucking outstanding defense. And Jalen Ramsey all over the field, straight monster. That defense ain't nothing to play with. And then seeing Matt Stafford throw bombs in that blue and gold, them uniforms were icy. So I think Cincinnati, even though they're going on the road to Chicago, this is going to be a defensive game. I'll probably take the under. Whatever it's at, it'll probably be around, 43, 44. Could even be lower. Let's see it early. 43, 44. It's at 45. That'll definitely go down lower. Probably be 44.5. We'll check back Sunday. Let's go. Make sure we get that up. So, my number 3 and last defensive player of the week. And even though I'm a Panthers fan, the New Orleans Saints, how they played against Green Bay last week, and I wouldn't be worried about them going on the road to Carolina, even though divisional matchup is going to be tough. Marshawn Lattimore week to week. He was injured coming into the game and then signed that contract right before. He was probably like, bro, I'm not playing in this game unless this contract gets done, right? All of a sudden, $100 million deal. He's out there. And it was either the injury that he had going in or an injury he suffered in the game. So good thing he did sign that contract. I think he got like a chipped thumb or some shit like that. Ended up requiring surgery. He's week to week, but going up against Carolina, they might think they have it in the bag. Maybe give him that extra week and a half to rest. And maybe he'll be out there week 3. But I wouldn't be worried about it versus Carolina. Saints projected as the 10th defense this week. They're 32% rostered on Yahoo. Only 9% rostered on Sleeper. So you can see the fluctuation of percentages. It could get tough, but coming off that 38-3 victory, only 229 yards given up. Picked Rodgers twice. Had 2 sacks. Forced fumble recovery. It was a hectic day for that Saints defense. And even though they're going up against Carolina, who had 381 yards versus the Jets, if they don't have that 57-yard bomb, which was probably just a blown coverage, you never know if they drive downfield and score that next touchdown. And the Panthers, them winning that game, it's kind of deceiving, which kind of sucks as a Panthers fan because their defense played good. Played pretty outstanding, to be honest. And granted, it was versus the Jets and a rookie quarterback. But Panthers only put up 16 points in that second quarter and ended up beating them 19-14. So that means the whole rest of the game, the 3 rest of the quarters only had a field goal. So that's not much production. Obviously, McCaffrey, he ate. He's an absolute monster. I think he had like 170 plus total yards. Absolute beast. And I don't think Carolina's going to be able to produce that against the Saints, especially seeing how the Saints played. So, third lock of the week for defense. We're sending the New Orleans Saints on the road versus Carolina. Lock it in. And with 9% rostered on Sleeper, guaranteed to be out there. If you're on Yahoo, they probably weren't started last week, so they're probably out there on the waiver wire, especially seeing Green Bay. Everyone thought Rodgers was going to come out there, sling it, and he ended up throwing 2 picks. That's probably one of the other biggest surprises of the week. But at home, Monday Night Football versus Detroit, they're gonna be locked in. And what a week it was, bro. Crazy Thursday night game to kick us off. Tampa Bay versus Dallas. Came down to the wire. Game-winning field goal. Tom Brady with that comeback. Last drive, game-winning drive. That shit was amazing. Hurts balling out there at Atlanta. Steelers with that dominant victory over the Bills. Bro, Chandler Jones, come on. Let's give it up for that man one time. How about 2 times? How about 3, 4, 5 times? Because that man had 5 sacks in 3 quarters. Woo-wee. That boy was out there balling. I never seen that shit done before. Mahomes leading that comeback versus the Browns. Doing what $500 million men do, right? That's what he's gonna do. Tua, a big road win versus the Patriots. And that was tough too. They got lucky, right? They got lucky with Damian Harris fumbling at the end. But that's how it goes, right? Because if Tua just throws that ball away at the end, now they at least get a field goal on that drive, if not keep driving down and put away the game. So that's how football goes. We seen last night, bruh, that overtime, ridiculous. Carlson hitting that, 55-yarder to tie it and send it into overtime. And then all of a sudden, their Raiders, perfect position for a field goal. They can't get their kicker out there in time because it's on a third down. There was some miscommunication. All of a sudden, 5-yard penalty, delay a game. They have no timeouts left. Pushing back 5 yards. They're out of field goal range. All of a sudden, they throw a pick on the very next play. That's wild. They end up throwing a pick. Goes through Snead's hands, which is... what? It went right through his hands, but it happens sometimes, right? And all of a sudden, Ravens get the ball back with that interception. They go down. Lamar ends up getting sacked. Strip sack. Raiders get the ball back. I think they were driving down a little bit, and they were like, all right, we ain't playing no games. Send the field goal unit out there. Ended up winning. Oh, actually, I'm tripping. It wasn't even that, right? That's what I thought they were going to do. And then all of a sudden, little rub route. Marlon Humphrey ran into his own guy. Perfect play. Bomb, walk it off. 33-27 Raiders victory. That's insane. What a Monday night game. And what a week. What a week it was. So the biggest games next week, we got the 49ers at Philly. Gonna be a hell of a game. I cannot wait. Bills at the Dolphins. Vikings at the Cardinals. And these 4 o'clock games are fire this week. I cannot wait, bro. This is gonna be lit. The Sunday show, make sure you tune in. And we might even have Baller on there. We might even have RDGs on there. Shit, you never know. E Gravy might come down from VA. Say what's up with the High Stakes Taste Pod. Let's go. So, the next 3 fire 4 o'clock games. Which I don't know if that Pats game is gonna be too fire. I think they're playing Atlanta. Just make sure. That line didn't even get dropped yet. See, that's so weird. Why do they do shit like that? That's hella weird. But yeah, week 2. Oh, New England plays the Jets. Who plays Atlanta? Because that other 4 o'clock game, oh yeah. See, it's a divisional matchup. Not really a fire game to look forward to. Like Tampa Bay, if they lose, that'll probably be as surprising as Green Bay getting smoked by the Saints. So, I feel like Brady obviously going to watch it. But the 3 fire games for 4 o'clock. Vikings at Cardinals, Titans at Seahawks, and Cowboys at the Chargers. And then into Sunday Night Football, the game of the week, Chiefs at Ravens. Shit, Branks might even be headed to that game, but even though Baltimore is at home, you already know. You already know Mahomes going to be out there balling, and if you let up 450 yards to Derek Carr, and he probably could have had 500 yards. We had Waller, even though he ate in the game, try to one-hand the ball, had a couple drops, and Carr had drops from other wide receivers too. He could easily have 500 yards yesterday. So this game, I think Chiefs are going to dominate, and if Lamar could get going, which is going to be tough, right? New running backs, even though, Tyson Williams broke off that ill run, first touchdown of the game. He's quick. He's gonna be a beast. And that wraps it up with the football show. We're gonna kick things off over with the Champions League group winners. Today is day 1. I cannot wait. I think the first game at 12:45. And as we get into our locks, we're going to end it with our locks for today. But they already have, 2 games at 12:45. We got Ronaldo, who's probably starting. We'll just make sure. Lineups, of course. That boy coming off that 4-1 victory, which we didn't know if they were going to cover 2.5. Ended up scoring that late, 90th plus 2 minutes of that stoppage time. I don't really know if they'll get in the mix like that. It's tough going to Sweden on the road, but we'll end the show with those locks. Ronaldo starting. Bruno Fernandes, absolute monster, had that sick goal. Just placed it in the top left corner. It wasn't really much pace, but struck it good. Had a little loop like that. It wasn't like a curve. It was just right into the corner. That boy's a beast. Starting Van de Beek, that's sneaky. Could he get out there and start putting in work? I'm surprised. Why do you start Van de Beek? Especially on the other side, you got Sancho. Or it might be, that's the type game where I think Van de Beek, he'll probably move in. They'll probably run a 4-3-2-1, maybe. I don't think he'll play as attacking as that. Especially when you got Lingard on the bench, Mason Greenwood on the bench. That's insane. But he doesn't get much game action. Champions League match day 1 for Man U. Getting out there, that's solid. So let's go over where they at. Champions League day 1. This is insane. Tomorrow too. Liverpool versus AC Milan. And what just dropped today was Zlatan Ibrahimovic. He's out for the game tomorrow. Scored a goal versus Lazio. I think he has like a Achilles injury or something like that. But come on. Like you were going to fucking score or get past that man. Virgil van Dijk, the best defender in the world. Come on. You might as well just, let me take this one off. Let me play more league play. Because you don't want to go up against that man, Virgil van Dijk. He is a monster. And he even got praise from Erling Haaland when they played in international duty. Norway versus Netherlands. Even got praise from him after. So he's an absolute beast. Oh yeah, and before we get into this, you wait for Europa League starting up on Thursday. Imagine that. We hit, hopefully, Washington will probably win that game. We hit a little parlay with the Europa League games and the Sunday night game. The Thursday night game. That's just going to be lit. So, Champions League group. And they're giving out season props, right? Don't have no goal scorers. What type of prop is that? Right? How do you not have goal scorers in there? All right, let's go through the group winners. So Group A, I think, plays tomorrow. So we'll go through that first, which is weird. Why you have Group A, right? A through D play tomorrow. It doesn't really make much sense. But Group A, we're going to take, and granted PSG is the favorite for this group, but Man City, they always do good in like group play. They'll win that group. And playing Leipzig, that's going to get hard. But I don't think they have them like much in attack. Like granted, they signed Andre Silva, but he hasn't really produced, which is weird. He came from Frankfurt. You would think going to a better team in Leipzig, he produced, but it's weird so far with him. And Man City versus PSG, I think everyone is going to be all over PSG, especially with Messi. But their defense is so susceptible to goals and breakout play. And Man City, once they get Kevin De Bruyne back, they're absolute monsters. And Guardiola, he's going to love going up against, right? Messi, Neymar, Mbappe. It's not going to be fun, but it's that challenge for a coach who coached Messi before at Barcelona. It's going to be one of the things like, all right, I'm going to want to get this victory. So I think they'll play well versus PSG. And I think at plus 110 odds, We gonna lock them in to win Group A. Group B now. Now this is gonna get tough. Liverpool plus 105 favorites. Atletico Madrid, Suarez. Those are gonna be huge games when Suarez comes back to Liverpool and plays at Anfield. That's just gonna be nutty. I cannot wait for that shit. And AC Milan, they have a sneaky team. They've been scoring goals left and right. Basically dominated Lazio in the last game. But I don't think they have enough to go up against Liverpool. Fabinho, Thiago in the middle. Like, come on. And shout out Harvey Elliott, actually. Shout out Harvey Elliott quickly. Bruh, I wasn't even watching that game live because I was trying to get that Sunday episode up. Bruh, and all of a sudden I look back and Harvey Elliott in the second half, a brutal tackle. I think dude got, and I'll give him something. He got some of the ball, but bro, that last leg coming around, that's such a brutal tackle when it comes like that and you're right on their legs. Like, oh my God. Because he got past him. He was going to dip. But, bruh, that dislocated ankle, and thank God it's not broken, right? It looked nasty because it was hanging there, but dislocations like that happen. Not all the time, but we've seen with Fitzy, dislocated hip. I didn't even see the hit, but he probably landed so hard on that with someone's weight all on top of him. Sometimes that shit happens. So shout out him. Hope he has a quick recovery, and I know he's going to come back even stronger. Shout out the youngin' out there. And he was starting games for Liverpool at 18. Absolute monster. And such a high ceiling for that man. So hopefully comes back, make sure he's 100%, and it's about getting comfortable on that. But I know with all the top doctors in the world and all that he has accessible to him, I think he's guaranteed to come back in top form. So like we seen Van Dijk, knee injury last year. We thought it would take him a little bit to come back. And all those doctors, right? The physical therapists, all those people that behind the scenes don't really get talked about as much. Bruh. And it has to be at least 50, if not 75% him who puts into work to get back to that and strengthen whatever you're injured. So it's really the combination, and I think he's guaranteed to get back out there sooner than later, for real. So for Group B, we're going to take Liverpool, of course, in my squad, but I would not be surprised to see AC Milan sneakily get in there. Like Atletico Madrid, yeah, they're solid, but it gets tough. It gets tough in the Champions League, especially when you're going on the road. And this year, all the fans back in football and in soccer, stadiums full, crowds going crazy. Let's go. All right. So lock in Liverpool plus 105 for Group B. Group C. Now we got Dortmund, who minus 163. I think that's guaranteed. They have to go up against Sporting, who might get tough when they travel to Portugal, but Dortmund's gonna put up goals. And if they could get back at least half of the players that they got out and injured, it's straight laundry list of players. It's insane. Let's go over to Flash score quick. Right, it's Dortmund tomorrow. Look at all the players they have injured. Berkey not playing because of a coach's decision. Emre Can, Koulibaly, Thorgan Hazard, Giovanni Reina, Nico Schultz, Teagues. What? Zagadou in defense? Bruh, who are they not missing? Right? Like, that's insane. That shit's crazy. So many injuries, but I think they'll come out, win the group just based on their attack and play. Besiktas, I wouldn't worry too much about them. Ajax, really up and down. Like, they'll play well in their league, in the Eredivisie, but plus 275, that's not one that I take. I'm locking in Group C winner, Borussia Dortmund minus 163. But Group D, a game which the first game is really going to be the decider. Tomorrow when we got Inter versus Real Madrid, right? Top two favorites. I think that's crazy, right? Because you have Inter, and this is how I read odds quick. Inter plus 225, Ajax plus 275. If Inter is a higher favorite, or right, a higher favorite than Ajax to win, wouldn't you think Real Madrid, them being the favorite, wouldn't you think that'd be lower? Like Ajax plus 275 to win, and Dortmund only minus one. Oh, that's why. Because the last two teams, Shakhtar Donetsk plus 1,400 compared to Sporting plus 600. Makes sense right there. See, work through shit. And Sheriff Tiraspol, bruh, those games, Real Madrid and Inter versus Sheriff Tiraspol, are always gonna hit the over. And if they're ever at 2.5, lock it in. There's a little early insight onto those games in Group D, but my sneaky winner for this group, I don't think Real Madrid will pull it off. I think they'll finish second. Those games versus Inter are gonna be crucial. But one of my flyers for group winners, we're going to lock in Inter plus 225 to win Group D. Let's go. What are the other ones at? There we are. And there we are. All right, on to Group E, where we got Bayern Munich, Barcelona. Really the two teams fighting for this one. That game's happening today. Bayern minus 188 to win. They've been dominating this year. Barcelona really up and down dealing with injuries. But Memphis Depay, he's been on fire this year. Give it up for that man. Absolute monster this year. And especially with Aguero out, Dembele out. That's tough, man. That's tough. So I don't think they'll have enough. And obviously Benfica and Dynamo Kiev, they aren't gonna win the group. If Barcelona plays shitty versus Benfica has a very good chance. And Benfica's playing Kiev today on the road, which they'll probably get the victory, but we're staying away from that one. I think it'll hit the over 2.5, but I didn't add it to the parlay. Maybe once we see lineups, if Darwin Nunez is out there, Grimaldo, all them boys, I think maybe. But Barcelona plus 200, I think we're gonna lock in Bayern Munich minus 188. That'll probably shift to maybe minus 190 by today, 3 o'clock. But after they get that victory today, they're gonna be at least minus 600 favorites to win. So get it in early before they start winning their games. And on to Group F. We got Man United, the favorite to win the group. Atalanta and Villarreal, really the same amount of odds to win. I mean, Atalanta slightly the higher favorite, but I don't think they have enough defensively, and especially how they played versus Fiorentina. Fiorentina could have had more goals, and we should have hit the over 3.5 in that game too on the added market bet, but brutal misses at the end. And especially the early goal that got ruled out by VAR. Happens. That's how it goes sometimes. But Villarreal, right, Super Cup champions, seem like they always are in the mix for a Super Cup. I remember them playing Liverpool when they won the Champions League. They just played Chelsea in the Super Cup, which lost on pen, but shit gets tough. But Man United, we've seen how they just played. Minus 175 to win the group. I think those games versus Atalanta and Villarreal are going to be nuts. But Atalanta, those matchups are going to be always hitting the over. Villarreal, they lock in defensively, but as of late, they've been giving up goals. But I think that's just they go through spells sometimes where they give up goals. Teams are never perfect. So, Man United, I think they're a guarantee to win this. Minus 175 after they get that victory today, and depending on what happens in the Atalanta versus Villarreal game, I think those odds will shift dramatically. So it says today at 12:45, but as soon as, I think that's just for week 1, because I still see odds out there for league leaders in NFL. So maybe it'll go like 3 games in, odds will shift, whatever. Because after the first game, things could change dramatically in those next 5 games, depending on injuries or depending on certain changes, right? So one of those things to watch. If it does shift like crazy, obviously stay away from it. But minus 175. But minus 175. We're going to lock him in. Group F winner. Send it. Yo, motherfuckers got some shit. See? When you roll by, you hear the engine roaring, right? Just slightly growling. And then you hear the motherfuckers that have the mufflers that are just like, sound like lawnmowers just going down the street. Big difference. Big difference. So, Group F winner, Man United. On to Group G, where we got Sevilla and Wolfsburg. Really the only 2 teams. Because Lille, they let up goals, which is pretty sketchy when it comes to the Champions League. And they're playing teams like Wolfsburg, who are gonna lock in defensively. Probably get a couple goals. We're staying away from that game today. That's really tough to call. But Sevilla, if Ocampos, he's a beast in the Champions League. A beast in general, but he turns up, specifically in the Champions League. So, plus 137, that'll probably, depending on how they do versus Salzburg, and if Wolfsburg plays well versus Lille, say they win 2-0, 3-0 today, I think they'll probably have closer odds after this. But Sevilla to win Group G, that's our lock. You can't keep Papu Gomez on the bench, though. You can't keep Lamela on the bench. They just signed him, right, in that little swap deal, plus money for Brian Gill. Plus 135 to win. And we always write down, like, closer. Yeah, it says plus 137, but we always write down, like, closer to either the 5 or the 0, because we always expect it to change and not stay like that. And like we said last week, those, like, 37, right, the weird number odds, those are always sketchy. You always got to watch out for those. So we're going to go with Sevilla, just based on the fact that I think they'll get that lineup straight. And if Ocampos comes back healthy, that lineup ain't nothing to play with, especially with Koundé and Diego Carlos as center back. Absolute monsters. And Jesus Navas. Who's the other? Pretty sure it's Stupien. Nah. He's on Villarreal. Let's see right now. Oh, yeah, Acuna. He's our left back who, bruh, he's a beast. And he can strike a ball like it's nothing. So, see, we talk about shit, and we don't even know the lineup dropped, right? Bruh, Papu Gomez, he's starting. Yeah, you seen that? Bruh, Papu Gomez starting. That's fire. But the bench, Lamela, Ocampos on the bench. They'll probably come in Delaney off the bench, but Diego Carlos and Koundé, absolute monsters at center back. So we're definitely gonna take Sevilla to win the group if they stay healthy, and we're gonna take them today minus 150 to beat RB Salzburg. Send it. And on to Group H to wrap up the UCL group winners. This group, Juventus and Chelsea, top 2, Zenit and Malmo, don't really have much of a chance, which is always tough. But Chelsea minus 175. We've seen how they've been playing. Lukaku out of his mind, absolute monster. Saul, he got that start, and I don't know if Did Saul get injured? Or did he just get taken out at half? Because he got taken out at halftime either way. Ah, see? Oh my God. Based off that debut, that is wild. They're making headlines. They're putting out articles that are like top 10 worst Premier League debuts. Debut not to remember. That's insane. Took him out at half. And I thought that was fishy because usually someone doesn't just get subbed out at half because of an injury. It's usually going to happen right in between the 45 minutes. That's insane. But with Conte injured right now, it's tough. It's tough in the midfield. They beat Aston Villa 3-0, but let up 18 shots, only 6 on goal, but 18 shots, especially when Villa only had 43 possession. But Jorginho, he's a beast. But yo, in the last locks where we seen Jorginho in the Super Cup game give up that brutal goal, right? Turned over possession, going back, tracking back, let his man he's just jogging in a Super Cup game like you don't care. Insane. But Kovacic, Ziyech, Kai Havertz, and Lukaku, absolute monsters. And Chalobah is a sneaky player. That boy is a beast. And he's kind of like Siamakin on Red Bull Leipzig. He's an absolute monster at center back too. So, Group H, Juventus losing Ronaldo. They've been playing all right. But Chelsea, they've been absolutely locked in. And I think that it's going to be them battling Man United. That's why Premier League, best league in the world. And Chelsea, we have mostly favorites on these UCL group winners, but a couple little flyers thrown in there. And we are going to lock in Chelsea minus 175 to win Group H. And that wraps it up. And to swing through today's locks for the Champions League at 12:45, which we'll drop it on Twitter. Probably just fast forward through this on a video. But BFC Young Boys versus Man United. Man United, we're taking them minus 286, and we're taking them minus 1.5, which could have changed because they were minus 1.5, and that was a minus 170 favorite. And we know once it gets minus 170 favorite around there, usually doesn't shift to minus 180. That'll shift to the next, right, to like 2.5. So let's just make sure. Oh, see? That's fire. We got Man United in the over 2.5 before it switched. That is sick. And Man United, I'm pretty sure that minus 1.5 shifted from plus 105 to now minus 105. So we see how this shit shifts within hours of just looking at it. So definitely got to be careful with that. So we're locking in Man United money line, the over 2.5, because that's what I got it in early. 3.5 is going to be tough, but with the 3.5 on the board, I'd stay away from it. So over 2.5, minus 170 odds, and Man United minus 1.5. Lock it in. The next game we got at 12:45, Sevilla versus Red Bull Salzburg. Sevilla minus 150. I think that's a guaranteed lock. See, shifted from minus 150 to now minus 167. I love seeing where the money's going, right? Because if you already got your locks in, you're like, all right, I took him at minus 150. Now it's a little less, right, favorable of a bet, or a little less profitable of a bet, but a more favorable opponent that they'll score goals against. And starting Papu Gomez, El Nasiri? Pretty sure that's his name. Yeah, and Nasiri, he's a monster too. So, thanks to Villa, guaranteed to get that victory today. My third lock of the day. Couple locks in that Bayern versus Barcelona game. We'll also look at odd shifts for that. It's a little hella break. See, I wish you could, right, judge how far it zooms in. But Barcelona, still minus 110 favorite. Bayern Munich still minus 110 favorite versus Barcelona. Over 3.5 at plus 100. I think that's a guarantee. So for this game, Bayern Munich playing out of their mind. Lewandowski always turns up in big moments. And if they start Sane and Gnabry, I think Gnabry, he might have a knock, but if he is healthy for this game, absolute monster of a team. And Alphonso Davies last week, he got hurt on international duty, but came back early, ended up getting fit in time to play in their game last week, and then absolutely turned up. So we're going to lock in Bayern Munich minus 110 in the over 3.5 plus 100 on the money line. Send it. And the next game, and this probably shifted also. Oh, see Man United. And then now we look at, this actually shifted backwards. They were minus 667 to win versus Zenit. But the handicap bet didn't shift at all. Minus 1.5 for them to win. We're going to take that all day. And minus 170 odds for that, lock them in for sure. And just make sure Lukaku's starting, right? Make sure they got a fire lineup out there. Because sometimes in Champions League, when you got midweek games and all that, it gets sketchy. And the last lock of the day, and this is really a flyer. This is really 50-50. I was looking at it. I love goals. Villarreal, they let up a couple goals at home in their last game. Atalanta, they can't seem to stop the other team from scoring. So if they start Ilicic, they'll probably get a goal or two themselves. And with the over-under at 2.5, which might shift. Let's see. See? The over was minus 105 this morning. That shifted just slightly to even odds. So with that being shifted a little bit more towards the over, we're going to lock it in. Over 2.5 in that Villarreal versus Atalanta game. And that wraps up the show. What a hell of a show. Shout out the winners. Killing it on soccer locks. And hopefully we could, and prop bets, hopefully we could get back cooking. 3 and 5. Shitty. But who thought right? And granted, look at this. Because I say who thought Miami, and then I bet them live and hit. All right, where is it? See? Dolphins plus 180. And I was talking to on the phone. I was like, yo. And he's amping up the pass. He's like, come on. Right? He's sauced. He's like, let's go. Like, Mac Jones. Who? Mac all that shit. He said, and that's after texting me early. He's like, damn, in high school you wasn't Cam, homie. That shit's hectic. But I seen him amping. I was like, yo, this is gonna play perfectly into everyone hammering the Pats. And I put him in my parlay. But as you seen the game going on, and you see when we put in 704 for a 4:30 game, live bet plus 180. And I think 5 minutes later, Damian Harris fumbles rock. And then you heard it on the phone. He's like, no, he fumbled. Just absolutely tweaking. So we hit that over 15.5. Carolina, we took the half point because that did shift. And if you listen to the last episode, we thought it might shift, and it was at 3.5. So we just took that just to be safe. And it could have been 19-16, because the Jets did go for that 2-point conversion. They just didn't get it. So, and that's really how it goes sometimes. It's really that close. And Sunday night, over 5.5 on Cooper Cup. We don't add it to the record because it wasn't a pick I actually put out there. But any picks that I have on the podcast or I put out there, I always add it. So, and actually, that wraps it up for the show. We hit that Dalton pick. That shit's lit. But I want to see, right? What is Ronaldo to score the first goal? Plus 240, and Cavani's not even starting, and he's plus 280. It makes no sense. And penalties, obviously Bruno, he's gonna take it. But I think, that's insane. Ronaldo plus 240, I think that's easy. So we're gonna end it on that. Lock in Ronaldo plus 240 to score the first goal again. Scored 2 over the weekend. He said, Manchester United, that's him, right? That's him all day, through and through. Out there in that number 7, playing with his Portuguese international, Bruno Fernandes, Jadon Sancho, Lingard scored him. He was the one who scored in the 90th. Absolute monster team. They're plus 1,000 to win the Champions League. Get that in early, because as they start winning in group play, they're going to shift to at least like plus 600, around where Liverpool is. So get that in early, and we actually going to end on that lock. Man United plus 1,000 to win the Champions League. We did say PSG before, but watching how their defense been playing, we'll probably lock in both of them. Great value, and we got PSG in early, so that ends it. That wraps it up for the waiver show. First waiver show of the week. Turn us up then. Let's go.